Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. My name is Angelo, and on the keyboard, giving me some support and answering questions, I have my good friend and buddy and wizard, Brad Tallis. Now, I do have to tell you guys I've been having problems with my computer. Hopefully, so I just did a restart, and then there was a Fusion update. So if there's any technical issues, please let me know in the comments. Also, Brad can let me know. I'm looking at the comments here, and I got Brad right here. So let me just make sure. Okay. Nothing yet, so I'm assuming you guys can hear and see me. Let me know. Brad, all right. Sorry. Just making sure. I see Brad sending me a message. These live streams are definitely live, and sometimes we have some technical difficulties. All right, cool. So Brad said we're good. All right, great. So if you guys remember last week, we talked all about setup, just the basics, going back to the beginning. And because we thought it was a good idea to just start from step one, and then we're going to do a series and build on each week a little more, actually every 2 weeks, because Brad and I, we will alternate. Brad will do one, I'll do one, Brad will do one, and so on. And so we're excited to do this, and we're happy that you guys are here and spending this hour with us. So with that, I'll get started. I'll share my screen. Let me switch over to that. And all right, here. So let me cancel what I was doing, and let me just cancel what I was doing. And I'll just switch over to this. And if you guys remember, we had talked about this here. Everything in the setup menu. We talked about creating a new setup, NC program we discussed briefly, new folder, new pattern, manual NC, probe WCS we're going to cover today. Manufacturing model, what is that? That's a cool one. I'm going to save that for later. All right, great. So we talked about doing some toolpath on here. We talked about manual NC, where you could leave a note for your operator. Like here I say move clamps. And then when you post your code, that would come out in the code, so there'd be a comment at the machine. So I think what I did here is I milled these areas here, and then let's say you wanted to put a clamp in those areas and machine the rest of the part. Then when you post, you would get that move clamps notification for your operator. All right, so then next, probing, we discussed briefly here. So let me go ahead and just delete that and delete that. So this here, all I did was create a folder just for some housekeeping, just to keep things in order. So the first folder, and again, that was up here, new folder. So you just click that, it'll drop a folder in here, and then you can give it a name. So I had some milling operations. I was just regenerating the toolpath. I aborted that. That's why I have that red message there. So now let's touch on probing. So a couple of things I can do here is before I mill anything, I can actually come and probe my stock. So let's activate this guy here. And I'm going to come here to my setup and go to probe WCS. WCS is work coordinate system. And the work coordinate system is how the part is, the orientation, and where the 0 point is of the part on your particular CNC machine. So that's what we're talking about when we say WCS, or work coordinate system. Now that's different from the view cube in the upper right hand corner. That's separate. So I remember back on other CAM softwares, I was very adamant that the world coordinate system would match my work coordinate system of the part in the machine. Fusion, you don't have to worry about that. They're independent of each other, super easy to change things around and go from there. All right, so let's go back to the screen. And what I'm gonna do here, I'll just briefly show you how would I probe that part if I had that on my machine and I wanted my probe to come down and pick up a 0 point for me. So first thing I would do is select the tool, and I'm going to grab this probe. It's a 6mm diameter ruby on that stylus. While that's pulling up, I'll take a quick look at the chat, and Brad will ping me if there's anything that needs my attention. All right, so I'll select that probe. Let me give this a feed rate. Let's go at 80 inches a minute. Oh, actually, I've got metric. So let's go. Sure, I'll leave it at that. Leave it at 80. And then let me drag this guy out here so we can see these tabs, what they say. Tool, geometry, heights, actions. Let's talk about geometry here. So if you go here under probe mode, click this drop down. And you could probe the model or a model that's in your assembly, or you can just probe the stock, that Fusion, the stock from your setup. So in this setup here, let me backtrack one moment. In our setup here, if I right click and I edit that guy, if I go here to my stock, remember last time when we did this live stream, we talked about relative size box. I'll move my mouse so that tooltip isn't in the way. Relative size box. So I'm leaving 5mm of stock everywhere, nothing on the top and nothing on the bottom. Okay, so when I talk about stock in the probing, this is what we're talking about, that yellow highlighted area. Okay, let me cancel out of that because I did not make any changes. Now I'll come back here. I will come to probe WCS. My tool is selected already. Now I'm going to come back to the geometry. And I want to probe my stock. And then all I need to do, I can hover over the top. And let's say I want to probe that outer rectangle. I'll click on that. And it already shows me a preview of what Fusion's going to do. And Fusion's intelligent enough to know that I'm doing a rectangular boss, or I can do a Z surface based on my selection. So I just clicked there, and it gave me the default of rectangular boss. So it's a rectangular shape. I could say I just want to probe that Z surface. I can toggle in between those two. But I'm not going to worry about Z in this case now. And then approach, what is that? So you'll see as I zoom in here, there's that distance here. So I can increase that. So even I can make that exaggerated. Let's say 50 millimeters. So what is that for? So the probe, when it probes, it's going to travel along in X, and then it's going to plunge down in Z, and then feed back over to hit the wall of the part. So that's that distance there where it's going to plunge. So that's the approach. So let's put that back to 10. Obviously, the bigger the distance, the longer the cycle time is going to be. And if you're doing a lot of parts, it's important, you want to save time. So you want to keep it big enough so that when the probe comes down, it's not going to collide with the top. And let's say your operator puts the part down on the table and shift it over to the left or shift it over to the right, some amount. So you want to be mindful of that and make sure you give it enough clearance so that the probe can come down and hit the part. All right. So coming back to this, so we talked about the approach. What is over travel? So over travel is, so I'll hover over this tooltip. So over travel is from where it expects to hit the part, where the stylus gets triggered, where the stylus hits the part, and then there's an over travel amount. So that's where it expects to hit the part to where it can go in addition, an additional amount before it will trigger an alarm if it doesn't contact anything. So let's say I have a small value there. Let's come to, what if I say 1 millimeter? Okay, so Brad just sent me a message. What happens if the probe plunged down onto the part before it moves over? And that's from Ayal. Great question. So let's come back to this one then here. So what happens, let's come to this view, and I will position like that. So the probe is going to come over, plunge down, and then move back over and left. To the left, a trigger to hit on the stock. So the question was, what happens if the probe comes over here and then collides with the top of the stock? It plunges early, or the stock is maybe placed in the wrong location on the table. What would happen? So the probe is intelligent enough. It has some logic built into it. So it's called safe positioning move. So when it's moving around the part, it's called protected positioning if you're using the Renishaw language. And so anytime, it's like a G1 move, but the skip signal is active. So if it triggers something in any X, Y, or Z, it will stop the motion of the probe and it won't break. So that's a safety built into it. So hopefully that answers the question from Mr. Ayal. Thanks, Brad, for letting me know. Also, so coming back to this over travel, remember, so it expects to hit the part within 3 millimeters, what I have based on my setting there. So if it doesn't hit a part, what would happen? It would alarm out. So let's say that the operator, instead of positioning the part or the stock on the table here, and let's say this edge is, say, 10 millimeters to the left, and I have an over travel of, say, 5. Let's make this 5 to give it a little bigger value. So if it expects to hit the wall within 5 millimeters and it doesn't, it will trigger an alarm at your machine, and then it would show something like along the lines of part not found, or trigger, the probe has not been triggered, or something like that. And that the machine would alarm and stop everything, and then the red light would flash, and you'd come and check it out and say, what happened? And then you could determine, let's bring this screen up. So then if this is your wall of your part, and then the probe is expected to hit, and let's say this is where it's supposed to be, but the operator maybe loaded the part, let's say 15 millimeters this way, and it comes and it's supposed to hit within 5, but it doesn't, it would just alarm out. Now going back to Ayal, if the part is here, and let's say my probe starts here and it moves over, and we expect it to come down here, but let's say the operator loads the material more this way, it will come down here, hit, and then back up and alarm out, because it's in protected positioning mode. Now that's the stylus with the ruby on there, not the body of the Renishaw, where all the good instruments are and all that, the solid part. So the stylus is triggered this way, and it has some axial motion and radial motion. So if it triggers, you're going to be safe. But always be mindful to turn on protected position if you're ever doing any manual programming. If you're doing it this way in Fusion, it's all handled automatically. We take care of that for you. All right. So coming back to this, so that handles the approach and over travel. Tolerances, you can give it some tolerances for position and size, and that would be handled over here under action. Tool orientation, that is obviously what if we're on a multi-axis machine, and as I rotate the part around, you can see the Z normal is this way. Well, what if I was working on the side of the part, perhaps in maybe this orientation, and that's my face. Now then in Fusion, obviously that's a horrible example of that, but maybe let's come over here. What if I did this one? If I selected that face. There you go. You can see the toolpath automatically update. So we can handle tool orientation in Fusion. Obviously on this part, I wouldn't be doing it this way, but I just wanted to show you how that works. I'll cancel that. I'll just uncheck that, and it'll revert back to this. So that's tool orientation. Heights. What is heights? is basically the elevation. So where the tool is, where it's going to, where it is in Z when it's positioning, and then how high off the part it is going to be when it's positioning over. So I rely on the defaults 99% of the time. Lean on Fusion for all the defaults. Anytime I'm teaching you folks how to use Fusion, I always say rely on the defaults. Click, select your toolpath, select your tool. Most of the time you just hit OK, you'll get a toolpath. And then you can go in and maybe sharpen your pencil and make some tweaks and adjustments. But many of our toolpaths, all you need to do is select the type of strategy you want, select your tool, hit OK. Most of the time you'll get a toolpath. Obviously, depends on what toolpath you're using, but most of the time it's as easy as that. All right, I'll take a quick check at the comments. I see M4's there, Ayal, everybody's there, all the usuals, Ekrim, Benzi, HBA, and Graven Moore, Augustina. All right, Wes, hello everybody. Glad you guys are here. I love doing this. I love working with Brad on these, and I enjoy spending part of my day with you guys. Okay, Ayal, still are we talking about how to probe? And I am still missing what is the result. Is it to verify some positions or to measure where things are? Okay, Al, great. Thank you for dropping that in there. So when you probe, let me go back here so you can see my screen now. Let me just hit OK. All right, so in our setup, if I say edit, right mouse click, edit, and then over here, remember we did a stock box point? And then what was the box point I selected? This is still left over from last week, but let's say on my machine, I want that to be my 0. So the top center of the stock. So if I look at it this way, from the front, we can see that that is the center of the stock. And it is the top center of the stock there. How do we find that on our machine? You can use an edge finder. You find each edge in X and you split the difference to position X. You would then hit this wall of your stock and that wall of your stock, split that distance and pick that. If I was using an edge finder, I'd probably just pick a corner, something like that. That would be easy. But if I wanted to just use a probe on my, let's say I have a Haas machine with the probe, I would do, whoops, accidentally clicked the wrong button. So here, my work coordinate system, if I want that to be my origin, x0, y0, z0, how do I find that? So there's one way, like we're talking about now, is simply use the probe that's on your machine. So that's exactly what we're talking about, Al. Hopefully that helps clarify what we're talking about here and what we're trying to get, what the result will be. Okay, so let me cancel, let me hit OK actually, because I want that to be my 0. All right, so let's come back and let's do a brand new probe, WCS. My 6mm diameter probe is already selected. It remembers the last tool I used. Again, back to geometry. I want to use a stock that Fusion created. Now this isn't a solid. I will show you guys how to do that. So again, I'll click that top surface. Now what Fusion will do, it will probe the outer walls. It will do X, along X, find that center. Then it'll hit in Y. It'll probe in the front, lift up, retract, go over there, and set X0, Y0 of that stock, how it's sitting on the machine. Heights, remember I said just leave the defaults. And then actions, there's some things you can tell it to, if it's out of position, you can stop with a message. There's going to be other exposures based on, we got the other probing stuff in the manufacturing extension. I'm not talking about that today. So you can toggle these on or off. You can print results, things of that nature. You can also override the driving work coordinate system. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I will hit OK. So now let me drag this guy up to the very beginning. So let me simulate this. I'll right mouse click and I will simulate. Let me turn my stock on. And let me hit play and see what happens. Let me slow this down. All right. That might be a little too slow. The probe is going to come. Hit the wall. Okay, so I see a comment from AL. So this is to compensate for missing alignment of the stock. And on machines that don't have a probe, you just have to align things yourself or manually. Yes, it'll be a manual operation, AL. Yes, so if I have that part sitting in my machine, I've got my box here. Right. So if you drop the part in your machine, if you have a probe, it will automatically come down, hit all the sides, and establish where that part is living on your machine. If you don't have a probe, you'll have to manually find that, and we usually use an edge finder. So hopefully that brings some clarification on what we're doing here with the probe. Sorry, I keep looking down because when I switch between screens, I don't have a cool thing like Brad. Brad has like this special key thing that he hits it and they'll toggle in between. I literally have to go and switch what I'm sharing. So if I'm doing my face or screen, so that's why I keep looking down. It's down here. But chat looks good. Al Benzi, awesome. Cool. So what that would do, that will establish X and Y. But what about Z? How do I establish Z? So I'm going to close that simulation and let me activate this folder so that any operation that I do will be dropped into that same folder. It'll be dropped in the bottom in order of that folder that's active. So let me create a new one, and this time I want to hit Z. So again, I'll come here, I'll say use the stock. I'll do the same thing like I did before. And whoops, hold on. I'll hit the top. I had accidentally the way I was hovering, it selected the bottom, and I don't want that. So by default, it's coming on XY rectangular boss. What if I just want to hit the Z surface? Again, I'll leave everything the same. These I'll just leave as default, and I'll hit OK. So now, see, you put it right here. I'm going to drag that up. And what I'd probably want to do is do a Z first. So I can come into here, probe WCS, type in Z. And then this guy here, the next one, I will name that probe XY, center of stock. Okay. Just put a little note in there to clarify what it's doing there. All right, so let's simulate those. And I should probably get these guys recalculating. Let's just right mouse click. I will generate. And some basic stuff here. I just clicked, right mouse clicked the folder, and I said generate. Let me cancel. So I right mouse click, and I say generate. I can hit Control G, or on my Mac Command G. I'll just hit generate. And then I get this message. It says one or more operations do not require regeneration. You want to generate the operation anyway. So if I say yes, Fusion will go through and regenerate everything that I told it to regenerate. If I say no, it will only regenerate what's red. We sometimes call that dirty. So the operation simply needs to be regenerated. So to save time, I'll say no. In this case, it'll do the adaptive, it will do the bore, it will calculate the contour, and everything that was red. So you can see that the adaptive is calculating now. I'll let that go. The bore calculated quickly. The contouring that I did there also calculated quickly. The adaptive, there's a little more involved because it has to analyze the stock and the model and apply all those toolpaths to it. So I'll let that go. And what are we going to do next here? So the next thing we're going to do is, so I could run simulation, but I don't want to abort. I don't want to abort that. So let me go ahead and I'll open up the other part. I shared this on the video from 2 weeks ago with some of you, and it is at the top of the comment section there. Okay, I see another comment from Mr. AL. Will this somehow also remember the size of the probe stock? What if you want to cut a circle of 10 centimeter radius and I want to do it with several different pieces of stock of different sizes? I'm trying to understand that question, AL. Can you clarify that, please? Okay, I'll just read it again. Will this somehow also remember the size of the probed stock? What if I want to cut a circle of 10 centimeter radius, so 20 centimeter diameter, and you want to do it with several different pieces of stock of different sizes? Okay, got it. So I'll come back to this part here. So the adaptive is still calculating. So remember in the setup, one piece is 23 by 23, one is 24 by 25. Okay, thanks AL for clarifying. Yes, so remember in our setup, I'm not going to change anything in the setup because it'll abort my, although I'll edit that, it'll probably abort my adaptive. But in the stock here, remember we defined that. So Fusion will use this stock, and in this case it's a rectangular piece of these dimensions, 685 by 435 by 30. So whatever you have defined on the stock tab of your setup, that's what Fusion will use for the geometry to probe when it establishes. Now let's see if this thing continues. It'll probably, cool, there it's continuing on, great. Hey Peter Stimple is here, welcome. Thanks everybody for joining us. I see the adaptive is still calculating. So feel free to leave your comments. I am looking at them, especially since Fusion is calculating, and I have a little bit of time to take a look at the comments there. And also, let me look to see if Brad sent me anything. No, I am good. All right, great. So let's switch back over to Fusion and let's do a check on that. So it's still calculating kind of slow. What I'll do is after that's done, I'll go ahead and protect that. So nothing. Hey, CDR Bimberly, hello. That may be short for Commander Bimberly. Almir, dobro večer. All right, we got some regulars here. Welcome, guys. Welcome. All right, let me just take a look at my notes. All right. Oh, Julian. Hey, guys. Actually, I'm learning a lot with Autodesk Fusion 360. You guys are literally saving me tons of hours. Oh, that's great to hear, Julian. Thank you. We appreciate that. And Commander Bimberly confirmed that when I saw the CDR. Welcome. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We are glad you are here. And this, I'm sorry, this is taking so long to calculate. I should probably... Dobro večer, Almir. Okay, Almir, sorry. Okay. What am I going to do? Should I just let that... I'll just let that go. Okay. Let me come over while that's calculating. Let's come over to this one. The parametric vise with stock. So let's come over here to the manufacturer. Wasn't planning on going to this part just yet, but just because that part is calculating, you know what I probably could do? I'll just leave it. All right. So if I come to this setup, We talked about this on last week. Oh yeah, we did touch on this part. We talked about the pattern that was here under setup. We did talk about that guy. But I don't remember. Did we go Kieran? What's up, buddy? Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Furkan, hello, hello. Furkan? I cannot pronounce that last name. WMT16. What is the best approach to establish G54 for the probing operation so the probe knows where the part is located on the machine table? Hello, Luis. What is, so WMT16, let me switch here. WMT16, I'm looking at the comment. What is the best approach to establish G54 for the probing operation so the probe knows where the part is located on the machine table? So we did just cover that a moment ago, but are you talking about the very first time? Like the first time you drop the part on there? I would do a manual probing operation. I got my Haas shirt on, so I'm going to talk about Haas. So you put the piece on the table and you'll use the manual probing operations. So you'll, if you want to probe the Z, you'll bring the tool down over the part, and there's an operation where you can just do a Z surface and it'll touch the top surface. And then from there, if you want to find the center, you'll want to, so what I'll do is I'll take a Sharpie marker and mark the center. I'll maybe sometimes use a scale or something to go corner to corner each side so I get that center. With the Sharpie marker, I'll mark it. I'll then manual position that probe, that stylus, over the part about 10 millimeters above, and I'll go into the Haas menu, and there's all types of cool probing operations in there to help you manually set it up. You would then go through all those and set your G54. So G54, what we're talking about, folks, is the very first work offset in our machine. So you've got your G54, G55, G56, so you have multiple parts on your table. It's basically offset number 1, offset number 2, offset number 3, but in G-code language, it's called G54. So that's what we're talking about. So what I would do is I would do that, manually set it up, then I've got my part zeroed on the machine. Now, if you're taking a plate that you're dropping on top of so let's say this is my machine table, and I drop my part on there. So let's say I've got just my phone, and I drop my phone on there. I would have a plate where I have some dowel pins, maybe two along the longest edge, and then one on this edge. So I got my notes here, what I wanted to talk about. I got my Cool Fusion dry erase board here. Maybe I'll do a giveaway and maybe not auction that, but do some giveaway. What do you guys think about a giveaway? Because I got a couple of these. If you guys want one, put it in the comments. Let me know. We'll figure that out. Okay, I just ad-libbed that. I just thought about that. So, going back. We've got the part in there. I can put a dowel pin in 2 locations and put a pin here. So that way when the operator, or me, we drop the part in the machine, you push it against the pins, and then you know the part is in a certain location. So that's how I would probably set it up on my machine. Vise would be different. I would just put it in the vise and push it against the stop. I have another part here. Let me grab it. I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming live stream, how I set it up. So this is a part I did for Haas for trade show, the trade show circuit. It was cool. It was done on a UMC 500, sweet machine. And so here's the part. I modeled it and designed it all in Fusion. I found a picture of it online and I just duplicated it. And it's got some cool features. It's got some thread mill, pipe thread mill, and some pipe threads on this side. And I'm going to show how we designed it and how I created a toolpath on it. Maybe what we'll do what we did with that spark plug bottle opener, where Brad goes through the design and then I go through the cam part of it. And we can do a couple pieces to that series. Now I have, check this out, the first stage of that, and here's the second stage. I'm totally deviating from what I wanted to talk about, but I thought I'd bring this up. So this is cool. So this is the first part. It came out of a piece of material that looked like that. This is aluminum 6061. And I just grabbed this in a Lang vise. And I have pictures of this on my Instagram. My handle is The True Croatian Sensation with the underscore in between. So Instagram, you can look up my name, Angelo Juris, or The True Croatian Sensation. Funny story about that, but Mr. Al Watmo and CJ Abraham, we were all one day. When I first started Autodesk, again, I'm deviating, guys, sorry. I didn't have Instagram, and CJ helped me create my Instagram, and he said, do you want your handle to be your name, or do you have a nickname? And I said, yeah, my nickname is Croatian Sensation. So that's how my handle was created on Instagram. But so going back to this, I have pictures of this, machining it, even down to some 5-axis motion. Check it out. It's on my Instagram. I got some video there. But yeah, I think it'll be a good idea that we show how we did this. Pretty sweet part. So I held it in the vise like this, machined all of this out, and then I flipped it over and I held it in soft jaws. And so this is the view, the orientation. So you can look at it this way. My hands are in the way, sorry. And then here. So then you can see all the material that was removed to make that. All right, sorry for the detour, guys. But yeah, we'll cover that. Awesome. Okay, let me check the chat just to see if there's anything. So Brad didn't send me any messages. Benzie, oh yes, that would be amazing. The same what you did with spark plug bottle opener. All right, we'll do it. All right, and then y'all commented. So the probing will do centering of the stock size and set it in Fusion. Wait. Fusion 3, okay, so the probing will do the centering, and the stock size set in Fusion would decide, for example, what range would a facing operation go over. I'm a little confused by that. All right. And Alamir, he says it would be great if we can produce some of the parts that Brad makes so you can see the whole process from start to finished product. We will do that. Awesome. Okay, sorry for the detour, guys. And again, thanks, Kieran. I'm glad my buddy Kieran is online on checking out the stream. So let me come back to this. Is that thing still calculating? Adaptive. Hey, there it is. Okay, so this is good. Obviously, I would clean up some of the linking moves so that it doesn't lift up and retract. I was just using default. So I would probe. I would find the center of that part. Then I would rough it. I would do some machining. And then, do I have a contour there? Let's finish these two guys. Oh, switch the screen. Sorry. This is live. Hey, thanks, Benzie. All right, so here on this part, so the adaptive is finished. I've got all those yellow retract moves. I would clean that up in linking. I'm not going to go back, because if I go back and change it, it would have to recalculate everything. But Benzie's laughing. All right, cool. Puzzle box, you have to look at the reflection in my eyes. You guys are funny. Again, thanks everybody for spending time with us. All right, so what if I want to do the second side of this part? And again, in probing, or in Fusion, let's say we had a case where we wanted to flip this part, and we would have some of that stock left over, right? How would I handle that? So I did a live stream on that a while back. I could refer back to that. Also, Stuart Duncan. Hi guys, sorry for the lateness. Okay, you're good, Stuart. Let me, before I went to my face shot and I talked about that other part, I was here. Let me finish that thought, sorry. I wanted to quickly show the difference between probing. So if I'm in this setup and I come here and I want to probe WCS, and if I come here under geometry, and if I go under model, see there's no model selected, but if I go here to stock, what's going on here? So if let me cancel, let me take a look at my setup, see what's going on. Let me edit that. So there is my stock here, and my top center is that edge there. And remember we talked about you can pick some of these edges here and here. And so where is it getting that stock? It's coming from a solid. And where is that solid? I can come over here to my browser and expand. So there's my stock. So that stock is actually a solid model. It's not the Fusion stock generation that the setup creates. This is an actual component that was created in Fusion. So let me show you about that. And I believe as we were running out of time last week, and I'm afraid we're going to run out of time again today. So let me hit OK there. So there's my stock, right? So if I show my stock, that's actually a model that was created in Fusion, no different than any of these. So I can hover over that. So when I look at my setup, remember a moment ago when I was editing my setup, there was here, it's coming from the solid, and then on my setup, whoops, sorry, I need to go to probe, my bad. If I go here to setup, probe WCS, and then let me make my stock visibility. So here, under model, what do I want to probe? I'll show my stock, and then now I can click that top surface, and there is my stock. But you got to make sure the visibility is on, because then I would have not, like a moment ago when I'm here, that stock is invisible because of the visibility. All right. So I have to come in and hit that. But we also do some things like you can just hit one side there. What if I hit this? What will happen? So it'll probe a corner. So I'm picking two faces. So you can even come over here and let's say probe that edge and probe that edge. And then now that would give me that top corner. Of course, in my setup, I'd want to define that as my 0. How would I do that in the setup? Let's hit OK. Let's take a look at that setup and see what our selections are. So I had a box point of center, but I would just simply come over there. So my 0 point in my machine would be coming from that top left corner. All right. So let me take a look at the chat. Oh, Brad told me switch screen. Thank you. Let's see. So I see now. Ayal. So 10 by 10 physical stock. Okay. So if Fusion stock is 10 by 10 and the physical stock is 8 by 8, the generated G code for surfacing, the 10 by 10 stock can't know the actual physical size stock, and it will do 10 by 10. So Fusion will take into account. Yeah, Peter says 10 minutes in the session, so 2 hours to go. Oh boy. We'll just keep these going. We'll keep the conversation going, guys. All right. So Fusion, if I'm machining, let's say I'm machining this part. Let me collapse all this stuff here. So let's say in this setup, I wanted to just machine around the outside of that. I could do something like this. An adaptive clearing. I'll just use that 1/2 inch flat end mill. That is 12.7 millimeters. Because this is an inch design here with inch tools. So I'm not going to even select everything here. I'm going to leave it default heights. Check this out. For the bottom height, I can use a selection, and I can grab that top face, and I can say stay above that. I shouldn't have clicked that arrow. Let's say stay above that by 200 thousandths. So now my tool will be go to that depth. I'm just going to leave everything else default, and I'll hit OK. So hopefully to answer Ayal's question, it will use the size of that stock that I've defined to machine. So it will start, let me right mouse click, I'll simulate this so you can get an idea. Oh, we've got the patterns active. Let me move that out of there. Let's move this above. Come on. Move that above. Okay, so I just want to, I can right mouse click. I could suppress all of these guys so that it doesn't, let me just right mouse click. I'll simulate. See all those black dots? That's because I have the show points turned on. Okay, and I can even show my stock transparent. Let me turn tail on, and we'll hit play. And what I can see is this session, guys, is turning more into like a hangout or office hours. If you like this format and you guys just want to drop questions and I answer them kind of as we go, let us know, because I've been thinking about doing an independent of this, something like an office hours, where I just spend an hour and you guys join, and we can just nerd out, and I can just talk and share some goodness of fusion and machining. So Benzie says it's an amazing session, and live question is awesome. Cool, I like that. I've been thinking about doing that, and so I think we'll have to kick that one off. Let me speed this up. And then I'm going to show you kind of to try to address Eyal's question if the stock size changes. So you can see what I did there. Fusion, I told it to machine, do a 3D adaptive, which is, let me close this. It's this one here. It's under the 3D strategies, adaptive clearing. So it's aware of the model and it's aware of the stock. So what happens, to answer Eyal's question, what if I change the size of my stock? How do I do that? So luckily in this design that I shared with you guys last week, I made it parametric so the stock size can change. So that's my stock, which is this guy here in my assembly. So that's the stock. But what if the size changes? So I created some user parameters here. It opened up on another screen. Here we go. So let me move this maybe up here. I'll move the model down. So I said 6 inches. What if that's now 7 inches? And see the size changed? And then see this dimension here? Let me come here to the right side view. Now what if that changes from 3 inches to, let's say 4? And I hit tab. See the stock size changing? And what if the height of the Z, along Z, some people say Z, what if I have that at 2 inches? Now I need to be mindful because of my flute length. So let me change that a little bit. Let's go, what if I do 1 inch? Okay, so see how everything just changed and updated. I even have the parallel height in here. So let's say 1.5 inches. You see how that thing moved? And I'm gonna show something that's super cool about Fusion. Yeah, that'll be fine, even though I'm not gonna be able to get to the bottom of the model. But let me just show you how cool Fusion is. I'll come here back to manufacture. And right away when I come over here, you see how it's red? Toolpath is out of date because everything, there's a few things in my setup. Remember in my setup, we've got the stock defined as a solid. And I made changes to that stock. So Fusion, I'll cancel out. Fusion is smart enough to know, say, hey, Angelo, something has changed in that stock size. So I'm just gonna right mouse click and regenerate. Now remember, I got these, I got a strike through on there, so those don't even, those I'm not gonna worry about right now. So Fusion will automatically redo everything. Now, the part, I purposely made the bottom surface of the part below the top jaw there. And I did that on purpose so you can see, well, hey, would the tool hit device jaw? No, it would not. Because if you remember in my setup, or in the operation, sorry, the setup I did define my work holding. We did that last week. But on the heights, remember I selected this face? So regardless of where the part is, it knows where that face is. So, and it's all parametric. And I changed the stock size, Eyal, And Fusion did all the rest. So it was stock aware and model aware. So hopefully that answers your question. Someone asked, did Brad ever do Q&A? But this is so this is Peter Stimple saying, did Brad ever do Q&A? Cannot remember, but this is comprehensive tips and tricks video, was really cool. Okay, cool. All right, so sorry, totally deviating from the original thoughts. Coming up on time. Are there any questions? What I can do is next week dive into it more. We typically go over, but I want to start keeping things, be mindful of time. I know everyone has things going on, and not get too carried away and go over. Okay. So, but what I can do now is we can touch on this part in the last 7 minutes that we have. So we machined this. I'm gonna protect it, so if I make any changes, it doesn't blow up that toolpath. Not sure if you guys were aware of that, but if you right mouse click, you could protect an operation, or you can, if you click on the setup itself, right mouse click, and I can then toggle that. But because I've got these in a separate, and this is selected here, let me come here and see now what it did. It protected everything under that folder. So that's a way, if you've gone through, verified everything, and just want to make sure that your operations are protected. So let's carry on. What if we get to the other side? If I come here and let me right mouse click and I simulate, let me hit play. So it probed the stock. Did you guys see that, or did I go through too fast? Hit play. So it's going to probe the Z. And it's going to probe the X and Y center, establish the 0 of that part. Now it's going to start milling. And while that's calculating, I'll take a quick look. And I see that Agostino asked, is it possible to measure a part and refinish it if that will remain some bigger? I know what you mean, and yes, we can do that. Okay, so I've got another question. The question is, if you tell Fusion your stock is 6 by 6 by 1, and the part to machine fits inside of it, then you load a 12 by 12 by 1 piece of stock and probe it, will your facing toolpath face the whole 12 by 12 that it got from the probe? So it depends on how you have your setup. But yes, let me talk about that after I finish this. So I will, next week what I'll do is I'll go through finishing this part. We'll go finish through the hole, and then we'll save that stock. And let's, almost done. It's still running through. I'm going to show you what we'll cover next time. We'll save this stock, and then we'll flip the part over, and we'll use this stock, and we'll just carry on from machining this side. So it'll remove the material, and then how we could probe that bore, because if you remember, we've got this bore with some features. And if we flip the part over, and let's say there's this counterbore feature, so let me close simulation. So we've got this feature here. Let's come up to this guy. Okay. So we've got that counterbore there. And what if we flip it over? How would we ensure that this counterbore is concentric to the counterbore on this side? I'll cover that next time. So the question is, let me try to explain again. So in Fusion, if I come here and if I do a facing operation, And I'll just use that 1/2 inch end mill. Again, I'm just using the defaults. Fusion sees the size of the stock. So I generate the code, it will cut that. But so the question is, what if the part is now bigger? Well, our stock is this size, so Fusion will face, obviously it should be at the beginning, obviously, right? So Fusion will know the size of the stock here, so it will generate the code based on the current setup. Now, if I come in and I change my stock size, if I right mouse click, if I come into here and let's say I've got 50 millimeters, now that's me controlling 50 millimeters, not automatically at the machine. We could do that and put some logic in, but here, then watch what happens. I hit OK. And this one here says it's dirty, something has changed. If I regenerate that, Fusion will give me that toolpath. Now it's kind of hard to tell because of my stock. Did I make not big enough of a change? Let me do something more obvious. What if I do that? Or even this, something very big, very obvious change, and I hit OK. Now I can right mouse click, I can regenerate. Now I've got the facing toolpath to handle the stock that's currently defined in my setup. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me go back to this screen. So hopefully, guys, that answers your question. I know there's been a lot of questions today, totally deviated off what I was planning to show step by step, but the conversation kind of got in a certain direction. I kind of like doing that, just figuring things out, answering questions as they come. Hopefully you guys get something out of that, and I think what I'll do is I'll just host we'll do this one on Thursdays where there's a planned script or guide or outline what we're covering, and then maybe on a Friday afternoon, maybe same time, I'll see, I'll check the calendar. I'll also have a chat with Brad to see what works best, and then we can just do a session where, hey, I'm here, throw me your part, and I'll slap some toolpaths on there, something like that, just live, and spend 30 minutes to an hour answering your questions. You guys can drop in the questions, and we can go from there. Commander Bimberly, can I please repeat my Instagram? I will put that here. So, let's put it here under comment. So my Instagram is the True Croatian Sensation. And let me pull it up on my other screen. And I'll just drag it over so you guys can see it, so you make sure you got the right one. I didn't have it pulled up. Give me one moment, sorry. And while that's opening, I'll have to minimize this slightly. And let me drag it over here. So here's my Instagram, the True Croatian Sensation. This is a picture of me at Pier 9, San Francisco, making some parts. Here's a bottle opener that Brad and I did. I designed it originally for a Haas trade show years ago. And then this guy, my buddy out of Florida, MFCEO machinist, he changed his handle, I believe. But he made some and gave them away. But that was a cool one. But yeah, I show stuff. Let me try to find that. Where is it? Here. There's Devin. He did that one. Here's me in front of that machine. Where is that one? Here it is. Here's some cool motion. Here's that part that I had in my hand. This is some 5-axis motion, all programmed in Fusion using Lang. All right, so there you go. Hopefully, oh, you didn't see that, sorry. Here we go, sorry. There I go again, I forgot to switch screens. So here's my Instagram, the True Croatian Sensation. Sorry guys, I forget to switch. Here's that bottle opener that Brad programmed. Sorry, that Brad designed. I originally designed this for Haas, and this guy, MSCEO, Machinist, he made some for giveaways. That was a cool one. And then let me show that 5-axis. I'm sorry, I forgot to switch. You know, when we're doing this stuff live. So here's that part I had in my hand. Full 5-axis motion. That was a swarf toolpath. So that was fun. That was the part that I had in my hand. So give me a follow there, guys. I always post cool things. You can DM me, hit me up there. I will switch back to here. So cool. With that, how you guys doing? Did you get something out of this? Please let me know in the comments, and we'll go next week and the week after. So Brad will be on next week, and I'll be the week after that. And I'll carry on what we didn't cover today, and I'll just keep on going, and we'll keep that conversation going. So thank you all for joining, spending part of your day with us. It's a great privilege and honor for me to spend some of my time with all of you today. Have a good evening and a good afternoon, and I will see you all next time. See ya.